Hi there, welcome back to another week of Counter-Strike game and skin market update. This is SkinomiCS2, and this video covers the 3rd to 9th of November 2025. Starting with the Armory Pass as per usual, we'll see some declines as the Rebound dissipates. However, most collections, especially the Elemental Craft stickers, still represent a good way of earning some extra money whilst playing the game. I'm surprised at the low return of the Dr. Boom charms, given how good they look in my opinion. Moving to the Price Empire market capitalization number. The number increased by 4% to 5.3 billion this week, which on the surface appears to be a further continuation of the rebound which we saw last week. However, increasingly, this number is not accurate. This is because it does not delete old items that were used in the trade-ups when new items are created through trade-ups. Given this, the reality of the market is dimmer than the headline figure quoted. Instead, if you look at any itemized index, including my own which we will have a look later in the video, the market has slightly declined in the week. Despite this, covert skins largely increased. This is because they sit at about break even, or even slightly profitable for trade-ups at current prices, depending on when you check the market. Cases typically sit at about 50 to 60% return on unboxing. This means that there is a huge disparity between these two types of wagering. Either knives and gloves will drop, or covert skins will rise to meet their prices. Both are likely to happen over the short term. Next, I want to talk about a coin that has launched via Solana called Fraction. I am not personally an expert in cryptocurrency. However, this new coin aims to track skin prices using their currency. In theory, this might be a good idea. If you are bullish on Counter-Strike skins and do not play the game, it allows for a way to gain exposure without the hassle of trading. Additionally, it allows for fractional exposure to very expensive items that are otherwise unaffordable for the average person. However, currently, many sources have accused this new currency of being a scam. I am unsure whether it is a scam, and I urge viewers to exercise caution. Also, despite viewing CS skins as a financial asset, actually investing in it like an ETF is a bit much. But then again, similar to other crypto, value is solely determined by demand and not by fundamentals. My worry, if the currency is not a scam by the curators, is what Valve would do. Their FAQ states that inventories which hold items are decentralized, but the risk of Valve banning them is still very high. Speaking of bans, Valve banned the newly crafted factory new Pandoras last week. Apparently, the owners had used third-party top-ups in the past. Often, these top-up services use stolen credit cards, and I would urge people to take this as a lesson to not to use those services. Valve made another update for Deadlock's anti-cheat this week. This was communicated to its community Discord. As a fan of a game made by the same company, I am envious of this, as I encountered several cheaters in Counter-Strike this week. Finishing on a lighter note, the upcoming Budapest Major set to start on the 24th of November is an exciting one. Valve has finally listened to the outcry of the community and made the final to this event a best of 5. The arena in Budapest will also be a 360-degree spectacle. The matchups for Stage 1 are now shown on screen. Not a bad idea to start thinking about those pick'ems early. It is very hard to pick a 0-3 out of this group. What has had me pondering are the stickers. The most popular concept posted on Twitter is one designed after the stadium. The holographic effects are very nicely made by Tetif. I think more realistically though, we might get a design that more closely resembles what Star Ladder had produced in the past, with thick borders like the concept made by Yingxing. Finally, let's move on to our weekly craft idea. A Captain America craft popped into my radar this week. Whilst the idea to place a DMG sticker over the IEM foil of Katowice 2019 has always been popular, to have a Froggles behind is quite new. The goggles of the Froggles sticker resemble the mask of Captain America. The entire craft costs about $18. Switching gears to market analysis. The SkinomiCS2 Index, which contains a list of items I used to represent the market, declined by 2.24% this week. However, the breakdown will show that it was very bipolar within. The ESports Fire Index, which contains a list of 300 high-value liquid items, also slightly declined. It is stabilizing at about halfway point between the peak and trough from the recent crash and rebound. Moving on to buff value of trade and trade volume data sourced from the cheap instant skin trading site iTrade.gg. Market activity still remains elevated compared to pre-update, however never reaching the peak we saw on the 24th. Steam DT's total value and volume data validates this trend. We are back to about 3 million trades per day, which is still a very significant number. Now, let's break the skin market movements this week down into categories. Starting off with knives and gloves, these have been hit hard this week, down more than 10% on average compared to the top of the rebound. Higher tiered weapon skins showed mixed results, with the cheapest trade up fillers winning and the others down slightly. Agent skins were down overall on an average, with goggles being an outlier with a gain of almost 10%. Last but not least, the affordable weapon segment achieved gains across the board, especially pertaining to skins of covert quality. Moving on, the CS2 player base continued to increase. The case unboxing numbers trended down to 15 million this week. As with the market cap numbers, these are completely inaccurate due to the number of new trade-ups. Nevertheless, this data provides us with an indication that there are less trade-ups being performed as well. Non-active case prices increased marginally across the category. Probability of profit remains about 5% overall. With active cases, all cases are down this week. Kilowatt suffered a drop of almost 10% during this period, which speaks to the unpopularity of the cookery knives within. Let's now take a glimpse at this week's biggest winners and losers. In the winners, trade-up fillers once again took the most significant gains. These included 2 items from the glove case, which trades up to the original gloves, whereas the Bengal Tiger trades up to the first generation knives. On the inverse, 2 unpopular gloves from the Revolution case dropped significantly. Furthermore, a filler of classified quality from the Breakout collection dropped by over 40% as well. Onto the top trades of the week, also sourced from the skin trading site iTrade.gg. We saw a renewed interest in top tier items with both the Gunyear and Wild Lotus gaining in price during the week. The top trades from Buff included a Gunyear for $31,000 and 2 Wild Lotuses for $19,000 to $20,000 each. On CS Float, the top trades also included 2 Wild Lotuses for $19,000 to $20,000 each. It also included a Ruby Butterfly knife for $19,000. In game news, there was one update this week, and it introduced TrueView. This is a feature which allows for more accurate replays that more closely mimics what actually happened from the player's perspective. It is a nice quality of life change, but does not affect actual gameplay. Now onto the pro scene. Furia took home another tier 1 trophy in China this week. They won the final 3-0 against Vitality, which dethroned them as the number 1 team. The almost certain Rookie of the Year Moladay took home the MVP. Looking ahead, there is only one event remaining before the Budapest Major. It will be Blast Rivals held in Hong Kong throughout the next week. In other pro scene news, Gaming Gladiators signed the Brazilian player Phelps. And lastly, Mesiport signed Vince as their new coach. Please do check out my Patreon. I am still open to skin donations and a reminder to join my Discord. Please like, share and subscribe. On that bombshell, that was all. See you next time.